It's time now for our Sunday panel. Liz Cheney, former State Department official, daughter of the former vice president, and first-time panelist. Well, Liz, I have been waiting all weekend to ask you, what do you think of President Obama winning the Nobel Peace Prize?
Well, Chris, I think the president himself understands he didn't earn this prize. And I think, therefore, the notion that, as the White House has said, he would go to Oslo to accept the prize would just sort of add to the farce. But I do think that he could send a real signal here. I think what he ought to do, frankly, is send the mother of a fallen American soldier to accept the prize on behalf of the U.S. military. And, frankly, to send the message to remind the Nobel Committee that each one of them sleeps soundly at night because of the U.S. Armed Forces, because the U.S. military is the greatest peacekeeping force in the world today. So he ought to take an opportunity to send that kind of message.
Do you agree with the widespread analysis that the Nobel Committee was sending a repudiation of the Bush-Cheney policies?
Well, I think what the committee believes is they'd like to live in a world in which America is not dominant. And I think if you look at the language of the citation, you can see that they talk about, President Obama ruling in a way that makes sense to the majority of the people of the world. Americans don't elect a president to do that. We elect a president to defend our national interest. And so I think that, they may believe that President Obama also doesn't agree with American dominance, and they may have been trying to affirm that belief with the prize. I think, unfortunately, they may be right, and I think it's a concern.
Obviously, the most important factor of this would be if it's a nice award and the money isn't bad, but is it going to translate into specific action in the international community? Are we more likely to get support from our European allies and Russia, maybe China, on Iran sanctions, to get more help from NATO in fighting the war in Afghanistan? Does this get translated into specific help from the international community?
No, I don't think there's any evidence of that. And I think actually we've got now 9 months of watching this president try to conduct a foreign policy that's based on in some instances, appeasement, that's based really on this notion that we're going to sort of, have an outstretched hand, no matter if the mullahs in Iran are shooting their own people in the street and providing resources to kill Americans in Afghanistan, for example. So he's got nothing to show for this big shift in U.S. foreign policy, but I think that if it continues, it will, in fact, make us weaker. And you've seen no evidence. The Chinese continue to supply a major portion of Iranian gas needs, for example. No evidence whatsoever that they're willing to stop that in an effort to impose sanctions.
We've got about 30 seconds.